Hello, my name's Lisha. I'm from England. I've been volunteering in Greece back and forth over the past 3 years. I speak Farsi, so from translating position especially, I find that I can be very helpful. In the past 2 weeks, a lot of stuff's changed here in Athens. Generally, over the past 3 years, refugees that have arrived have been waiting to get their white cards, and what it's advertised at is that they are being given housing, whether in camps or flats. It's being facilitated. This hasn't been the case. A lot of people have had to resort to self-organisation, finding abandoned buildings and squatting in them just to have some form of shelter. This goes from families, children, single mum, anything. And they're only doing this because the government isn't providing accommodation, so it's that or sleeping in the streets. And then in the past few weeks especially, a lot of evictions have been happening where police have been going in the early hours of the morning, going into squats, pushing people out with violence, not allowing them to take their items with them. The most recent case of this was last Thursday, Clandestina squat, which housed approximately 80 people, mainly families and children. Took them out at 5 a.m, didn't allow them to take their stuff, took them to the police station. In the police station, they weren't even being given water. They were told if they wanted water, they had to pay for it, even though obviously people didn't have money. Toilet facilities were disgusting. People had to go and clean it themselves to use it. After their names were taken, they were then taken to the street and said, it's for you. Not given any of the housing, basically just kicked out, not with their stuff. There was a volunteer reaction to try and support them. And in the end they chose, or those residents chose to come to Syntagma and to protest and to camp out. Other refugees that had been in other squats that had been evicted in the past 2 weeks started to come in solidarity and join, wanting to protest. After 2 or 3 nights, eventually police turned up, were threatening to come in with violence. They brought in a bus, said they would take people to Elionis, which is a camp nearby, and house them. A lot of people didn't believe them. In the end, a lot of volunteers went with them to Elionis. It was chaos there wasn't enough space. This hadn't been communicated properly. People of Elionis were doing as much as they could within their power to accommodate the people there, but essentially 56 people have been taken to Elionis, but the rest of them were left on the street. They're not being allowed in. A lot of them still families and children, and they are still sleeping on the streets. People still want to protest. They want to share the information, that stuff that's being advertised on the news, especially in Greece, saying that housing is happening, that people on the streets are there because they're criminals or drug dealers. It's not refugees, it's not homeless families. This isn't the case. And I think there's a thing where a lot of people want to come together and show people in protest or whatever forms that those basic human rights that are being said to be met are just not being met, and so many people are being left vulnerable at the moment. And it's a lot of volunteers or grassroots organisations that are having to